Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the minister's arrival.
Today, the world is
Please be
undergoing
seated.
significant changes and facing a variety of uncertainties. A rampant spread of unprecedented challenges, an increasing number of global conflicts, the prevailing competition among nations. Exacerbated crisis after crisis, posing a ripple effect that poses serious challenges for humanity. In the same manner, democracy faces its own challenges, regression and skepticism. Our resilience and effectiveness in dealing with crises are tested at their tipping point. At this point, global leadership and solidarity are the essential tools to shape a better world for everyone. Bearing the spirit of democracy, Bali Democracy Forum returns this year under the theme of Democracy in a Changing World, Leadership and Solidarity, aiming to provide a solid ground for countries to put their heads together and figure out every possible way to deal with the challenges in this changing landscape. Together, we shall reaffirm our commitment to promote democracy inclusively and improving the quality of life. Throughout the extent of 14 years, BDF has continuously built initiatives to promote homegrown democracy, encouraged countries to balance political and economic development, providing solutions for contemporary problems, promoting human rights and fundamental freedom, and respecting humanitarian values. Democracy will keep social trust and peaceful relations among states intact, and enable the government to exercise accountable measures that will help people recover and to navigate through uncertainties. With global leadership and solidarity at hand, democracy will create a common ground for governments and societies to unite for survival in this changing world. Welcome to the 15th Bali Democracy Forum.
Her Excellency Mrs. Retno Marsudi, Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Hasan Wirayuda, founder of the Bali Democracy Forum, Bapak Prof. Cok Oke Sukawati, Vice Governor of Bali, Excellencies, Ministers, Ambassadors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, may peace be upon us. It is our greatest pleasure to welcome you to Bali, the land of gods, to the 15th Bali Democracy Forum, which draws the theme, Democracy in a Changing World, Leadership and Solidarity. To commence this august occasion, we will now listen to the pre-recorded message of the United Nations Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres.
Excellencies, dear friends, we are living in a time of turbulence, tension, and turmoil. Divides are widening, people are hurting, democracy is backsliding, and civic space is shrinking. We have a duty to act. We must defend and invigorate democracy and promote the rule of law and the universality of all human rights, economic, social, political, civic, and cultural. We must uphold the democratic principles of inclusion and dialogue, which are cornerstones of a renewed social contract and key to lasting peace, stability, and sustainable development. We must tackle inequalities and injustices in all dimensions. Global solidarity and leadership are essential to ensure everyone, everywhere, has the resources and support they need to invest in their people and future. I commend the government of Indonesia for organizing this forum under the theme Democracy in a Changing World, Leadership and Solidarity. I wish you fruitful discussions and I thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we now have the honor to kindly invite the Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia to deliver her keynote remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ministers, ambassadors, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 15th Bali Democracy Forum. Before I begin, I would like to express my deepest condolences to the victims of a heinous attack yesterday in Bandung and their family. We wish a speedy and full recovery to those who are injured. We condemn the attack in the strongest term. Violence is not compatible and has no place in a democratic systems. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today because we believe in democracy and its capacity to create a just, equitable, and inclusive society. These days, it is very easy to lose faith in democracy. The world is changing faster than ever before, and it brings along unprecedented challenges. Crisis after crisis continues to test the foundation of our democracy. But the challenges to democracy do not only come from the outside, they also come from within. Last month, the International IDEA reported that once again, democracies are either declining or stagnating. Even the so-called established democracies are at risk. Freedom House documented 16 consecutive years of democratic decline, whereas checks on power abuse and human rights violation have eroded. Meanwhile, the FIDEM Institute found the average quality of democracy has dropped to the same level as around 30 years ago. In Asia Pacific, democratic space has narrowed. Political rights and civil liberties have been constrained by ethno-nationalism, political patronage, and military intervention in politics. Therefore, it is only natural to ask whether democracy can survive all these challenges and how we can sustain democracy in this rapidly changing world. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of pessimism in democracy, many are still counting on it, including Indonesia. Democracy contributes to Indonesia's relative success in dealing with the pandemic and its impact. The principle of solidarity dictates our pandemic responses. That is why we tirelessly sought the right balance between containing the virus and keeping the economy running. That is why we designed a community-based program to donate and distribute food to people affected by the pandemic. And that is why we embarked on one of the world's largest COVID-19 vaccination drive. More than 174 million citizens have received their full doses. The country leadership does not only see the pandemic as a tragedy, but also as a momentum to strengthen our health resilience. In October, President Widodo launched our first homegrown COVID-19 vaccine. It is an important milestone for vaccine independence. On international level, we also champion the issue of equitable distribution of vaccine and health financing support for developing countries. Pak Hasan yang saya hormati, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very confident that democracy will also enable us to withstand the difficult year of 2023. Inflation remains high, driven by rising food and energy crisis, and impending recession continues to haunt as the crises are yet resolved. The ASEAN Development Bank cut the projected growth in developing Asia from 5.2% to 4.3% in 2022 and from 5.3% to 4.9% in 2023. In this difficult situation, Indonesia managed to record a 5.72% growth in the third quarter this year, and projection for 2023 is 5%. This does not mean that our people is immune from the socio-economic impact of this pandemic. Data from our statistical agency indicates that 4.15 million workers are productive age and are still affected by the pandemic. The principle of solidarity plays a huge part in guiding our recovery effort. If you were here last year, you would remember that I said we have to democratize opportunity for recovery. No one should be left behind. That is why we reach out to those hit hardest by the pandemic. That is why we strengthen our social protection rollout. And that is why we implement an ambitious national economic recovery program. Bapak Hasan yang saya hormati, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that we never struggle during this pandemic, because we did. Like other countries, we also went through a series of trial and errors. But democracy helped us improve our pandemic responses because it guarantees freedom of expression and listen to the will of the people. Because it provides a space for meaningful dialogue, including an effective policy. And because it allows for check and balances to the government pandemic response. I know democracy is not perfect, and it is hardly infallible. But Indonesia experience shows that democracy works and democracy delivers. If we really want to serve the interests of the people, democracy would be the best way to govern. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I want to add one more final thought before I conclude. Democracy is not an end in itself, but it is a means to an end. At the end of the day, democracy must bring direct benefit to the people and contribute as part of the solution. In the midst of multitude global challenges, democracy can go either way. Democracy may toughen up and prove itself, or it may weaken and disappear into irrelevance. The choice is ours, whether we want to give democracy a chance or we want to give up on it. For Indonesia, the choice is very crystal clear. We must nurture the spirit of democracy and strengthen our democratic foundation. And that is why we are hosting this Bali Democracy Forum. That is why we are providing capacity building in democracy and good governance. And that is why we insist democratic values must be the foundation of friendly relation among nations. International norms, global governance cannot shift by a handful of countries. The fate of the world cannot be decided by a handful of countries. Only by recommitting ourselves to democracy, we can ensure democracy survives all challenges thrown at it and sustain democracy in this rapidly changing world. So I do hope that this answers the question I posed earlier. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for attending this meeting, especially my colleagues, the minister who flew a long way from Bali to attend this meeting. And thank you very much for all the participants of this meeting. Let us celebrate democracy. On that note, I'm honored to declare that 15th Bali Democracy Forum officially open. And may we all have a fruitful discussion. I thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak.